In this video, we're going to focus on how we can create or generate a unique legend here, where we can hide the entire data set. As you can see here, when I click on it, it will hide the data set. The original structure of a pie chart has like slices that we will hide specific slices, but now we're going to just hide the individual data set of this. So let's start to explore how to do this. So let's start to explore how to create a custom legend for the Doughnut chart that shows and hides the data set in Chart.js. For that, what we need is, first of all, we need to go to chartjs3.com for getting started to get the default code. So I'm going to scroll down here and just copy all of this. And if you want to understand what this code does, please check out this YouTube video here that explains it all. This I will just paste down here, and then what I will do is I will cut out the title here. And let's do that, save this, refresh. Alright, so once we have this, what I want to do now is I want to create a Doughnut chart. And then I'm going to just go in here, type in Doughnut. And then next what I want to do here is the size of the chart should be 400. Save that, refresh. There we are. We need to remove the scales. And let's remove that. Make sure we remove all of those. There we are. Save, refresh. Now we have this. And you can see here the legend here converts automatically into one specifically for every segment. And this of course is not what we want. What we want to do is we want to hide the entire data set. So we're going to create another data set in here first. So in here what I'm going to do is I will just duplicate this, copy all of this, put a comma, paste that in here, and let's say weekly cost. And then for the sake of it, I'll just give this a different color, so later on this will be very clear. Because right now, if you see this, we have here two different colors, but if I click on this, both of these are being impacted, and that's not what we want. We want to impact the ring itself, or the data set. So now what I want to do here is I want to scroll down, and then start to work on it. And maybe just for the sake of it, to make it a bit more nicer, I'm going to say here, cut out. And then we'll put in here 90%. The reason I'm doing this is basically you could do it here as well, but what that means if you do it in here, it will only give one single data set that cut out percentage of 90%. But I want them both, and this is an easier way to do it both. There you are. So you can see here now both are impacted without having a duplication of code, so it reduces the redundancy. So next what I want to do now is start to customize the legend. So we're going to say here plugins. And in the plugin, we're going to say here legend. And in the legend, we're going to start working on it. And what I want to do here, first of all, is to generate a completely new legend that is different from this. Basically, we only have two items here. Ring number one, which would be basically the cost, and the other one would be the sales. As you can see, we had it here, weekly cost, and the other one is weekly sales. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, we're going to say here labels. And then in the labels, we're going to start to work with the generate labels option. So generate labels, and then in here, this is basically a built-in callback functionality that Chartjs has created to specifically create labels quickly. And then what I want is the following. I'm going to say here chart as my argument, and then here the function arrow expression because it is a callback functionality. So once we did this, what I want to do here is the following. We have to now, first of all, start to understand what is this exactly. So let's grab this, put it in there, save that, and refresh. Open up the developer tab. You can see here now the legend is returning nothing. And the reason why is because we didn't put a return in here. So it just sees it as a blank item. But if I click here, if I click here, you can see here we can find the information we need. So if I go here and we are going to basically look for the data, because what I really want is here, eventually the data object. Click here and click on the data sets, and all I need is basically this. I want to get the label, I want to grab the background color and the border color. That's what I want to extract. So let's start to do this now. So to do this, what we're going to use is here a map functionality. And the map method basically allows us to grab the data set but avoid adjusting the original data set. meaning we don't want to adjust the original array, but we want to duplicate the array and then create something based on that. And what I want to do here now is just to grab this dataset 0 and dataset index 1. Grabbing all of this data here, and from there on we can start to draw the chart, or sorry, to draw the legend information. So what we're going to do now is, first of all, I'm going to say return. I want to return a specific value, but then what I want to return is the following. I'm going to say a chart.data.dataset with an S, and then .map. And basically here we do the map functionality, which allows us to loop through every value or index value of the data set. That's what we're really doing here. But here we're going to use parameters, so I'm going to put in here 2 parentheses, and I'm going to use here a arrow function expression, and then here I'm going to say, well, we could call this a data set. So we will loop through every data set, and every data set, let's say data set 0, we now have a reference, it's called now data set. And then we put another comma here for the index, which would basically also reference to the index itself. So the data set 0, but also we have the index of 0 here, so it will keep the information intact for us. So this will be important because later on we want to go to the different indexes here and then to grab certain values. So what I'm going to do now is the following. I'm going to say here, we have this here, and then what I want to do here is the following, and pay attention here. I'm going to put an enter in here, and then what I will do here is I will put in here parentheses and then curly braces. This is very important, so that's why I'm putting here this parentheses down, because it's the closing one for this one. This one here closes this, and that one here closes this nested version here, just so you can quickly or easily see what I'm doing here. Alright, so then what I want to do is the following. I'm going to put in here the text, and this is basically one of the generateLabels functionality that allows us to put a text in here. And what is the text I want to grab? Well, what you want to do here is only to grab a single text in here, and the single text is called label. So remember, the data set was already basically everything here, including the 0, and then we say a dot label. And if we do this and save this and now refresh, you can see here now we get the weekly sales and the weekly cost. So basically we converted it and we say to the legend, only give me the index name, or sorry, the dataset name instead of all of these labels. So that's the first one, but of course you can see here the colors are not being shown for the background and for the border. So that's what we're going to do next. So we're going to put a comma in here, and then what I'm going to say here is we're going to say fill style, which is basically a canvas functionality here. And what we're going to do here is exactly the same as what we did previously. If we go back here and we're going to look for the data that is in here, the data object, click on this. Here we have the data set, and we go to dataset 1, and you can see here now, remember, we have here the color. So what we could do here is just get the background color, but what we're going to do really is we're going to get only one of these, because we don't need 7 items. No, we only get the first one here that is important. This is the reason why I made one red and the other blue. You will see that one will become red and the other one will be blue. So exactly the same, I'm going to copy all of this, put it in here, fill style, and then the label will be here, background color. So if I save this now and refresh, you can see here now the colors are matching with the first segment only. Finally, I want to do exactly the same, so I'm going to copy this, but now apply the border style. So for the border style, same item here, it is just what we have already. You're already familiar with the JavaScript, or at least with this here is basically this border color here. We're going to grab the border color here, but here this will be called the stroke style. So if you're wondering why stroke style, this is also a canvas name. But if you want to understand the term, basically what they did here in Canvas, you have to think like a painting, like a white canvas or a clean painting that is started blank. And then when you use your paintbrush to make a line, we call that a brush stroke. So basically here, the stroke refers to the line of a paintbrush. So we have this here now, and if I save this, refresh, we can see here now the border is nice dark red, and then we have a nice light background color here. Alright, so now we have all of this. So the final item, and I will start to work on that later on, is called hidden. And the goal with hidden is basically to show if it's shown or not. Because remember, we still need to create the click activity here that will hide the data set, but also strike through this. And for that, we need to put in here. For now, I'll just say here, this will be set on false. Later on, we're going to work on this. So I'm going to save this, refresh, and that's it for now. So the next thing what we're going to do now is start working on the onclick functionality. And then the onclick functionality will be not in the labels object, but just one here up, sorry. And then here we're going to say onclick with capital C. This is very important. This is a built-in functionality that Chartjs has created. Basically, it's an object that is a function of onclick, which is absolutely phenomenal because it saves us in time in creating our own functionality. So this is also a callback function. So in here we have three parameters. The first one is the event, which is basically the click event. The second one is the legend item, and next is the legend. So we have all of these, and then we make here again a function arrow expression. And once we have this here, make sure you have a comma there. And then in here, what I want to do first is to show you what is this basically. So let's do the event first. If I save this, refresh. All right. And now, remember, if I click here, it won't work, but it will work on here. When I click on these items, and you can see here, it recognizes the click. Of course, this one here, in my opinion, is not important for us. What is more important is the other two. We will be needing those two to compare where we have clicked on. So I'm going to grab here the legend, save this, refresh. And then click now again on the legend, and you can see here now what we have here is, let's see, let me just comment this out to avoid all the excess. Click on one, and then what you get is here, all of the items that you probably recognize, except for the text align. We didn't do this one, this is just built in automatically. But you can see everything in here is basically similar to what we had in here. So this is just a representation of this. And what we need here then is, of course, the text. So click on this, if I do this, and then you can see here now, weekly sales, and if I click on this, weekly cost. This is very important because now we can start to compare on which item did we click based on this. And I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do this. Because what we're going to do eventually is using the index of for the array to compare which one we're clicking on. So to do this, enter, I'm going to do another console log, and now I want to show you the legend item, or the legend itself. Let's hide this for now, save this, and then refresh. And all I do with this, if I click on this, you can see here we get a lot of information, but a lot of these is not important. What is important for us is basically the following. We are here, and then I want to go eventually on. Let's see, we have here the legend items. Basically, this is the legend items here that can compare the item we have. And here we have them both. While the other one will only grab, you can see here, if I do this, the other one will only grab the specific one. But what I want now is to have both, loop through them, and check which one we have selected. So I'm going to grab here this legend items. And you can see here, this is index 1 and 0. So we're going to say here, legend items. If I do this, click on that, we get all of this. And now what we're going to do here is to get this and compare on what we have selected. Are we selecting or clicking on weekly sales? Then we should get index 0. And if we click on the weekly cost, we should get index number 1. So to do this, all we need to do here is basically the following. I'm going to say here constant. And this constant will be eventually our index. So we want to grab the index here. And what I want to do with this index is basically this. I'm going to grab here the legend items, and then I will say here the following dot index of. And let's see here. Oh, I realize here we need to do probably something else, because you can see here we get this with the text. So what I need to do here first is to create the array. So let's create the array first. So to do that, what I need to do here is, let's call this our, what would be the proper name for this, maybe the data set. So we're going to say data sets. All right. So we're going to get the data sets, and then we're going to say here legend item. And the reason I need to do this is because we need to use another map array. Why? We need to look through here and then get through those, but then we get specifically this one here. And then what I'm going to say here, we have the item, and then we do map. And then here we have the following. What I want to do now here is basically I want to get here the data set. So I'm going to have two items here. Make sure you have these arrow function expression, and then here I'll just say the data set. So data sets basically equals this here, or this item is the data set here. And then what we really need to do is from there we need to go to index, or we go in index and then text, so we can compare this. So what I'm going to do now is here the following. I'm going to grab this, and then I'm going to say here, let's see, comma, index. We might need the index, and then in here curly braces. So what I'm going to do here now is, let's see, we're going to say return, and I'm going to have the data set return dot text. When we do that, what we're really doing is we are creating a new array based on the text, and this is index 1 or index 0, and the other one will be index 1, which will of course match with the data set, which is 0 and 1. And this is very important for us. So now what I want to do is the following. I want to just do a console log here, show the data set here, save that, refresh, click on that, and then you can see here what are we getting. We're getting now the array here of our item, and now we can quickly start to look in which position it is and then extract the index number of that one. So what I'm going to do here is the following. This is working, so I can remove this data set, and then in here now I'm going to say the index, the constant index equals, well, we can just grab this, put it in here, and then we say dot index of, and that will be the item that we want to, or that we have selected, which is this item here, the legend item.text, which is the one we clicked on. So once we click on a specific one, it will just search for the index position of that. So what we can do now is a console log, say index, and then save this, refresh, click on this, and you can see here we get now index 0, which is correct, and the other one is index 1. So we have these two items here, and we get now the official number. So with that, I can just remove all of these console logs now, so we can clean up a bit, and now start to do our item. So what we want to do here is the following. We want to say now, if this is true, or a certain situation here, then we're going to show or hide, or make it visible. So what we're going to say here is the following. What we could do here, well, let me just show you what we're going to do, because this is the most important one. We're going to say legend.chart and then .height. And what we want to hide is eventually the index number. But if we do this and then save this, refresh, click on that, you can see here it works, but there's just a single issue here, of course. Oh no, I guess it works nicely, but you can see there's one issue here. And what is the issue? Well, the issue is straightforward. It is that it's hiding, but we don't have the opportunity to retrieve it back. Why? Because we need another one for showing. So what we're going to do here is basically the following. I'm going to create an if statement, and this if statement will check if it is hidden or not. So how do we do that? Well, let me show you. I'm going to show you here the specific command that we're going to use. So we say legend chart, and then we say is data set visible. So we're going to basically analyze if the data set is visible. And then which data set? Well, the one we clicked on, which is in this case our index. So we put that in there. So if I save this now, refresh, if I click on this, you can see here, oh, it doesn't do a console log, so I want to show a console log first, so you can see the value. Save that, refresh, click on that. Alright, so now we have that here, and you can see now it's true. So is it visible? It will say yes, but here's the thing. It looks at it because we click on it, and at that moment it is visible. And then after the click, it will start to hide it. So if I click now again, we should see here now it is set on false. So if I do this, we get this here. All right, this works. So what I need to do here now is basically a if statement and just check one or the other. So we're going to say if the legend chart this equals true, in that case, well, let's see, if it's false, that's the one we need, because if it's false, well, let me double check again if it's false or true. I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, it should be, well, let me just double check this again. I get slightly confused. If we click on it, I need to have the console log again, just to make sure, is it showing visible? If it's true, it is meaning it is shown. And then if I click again on it, now it's hidden, and then it's set on false. All right, so basically we need to do this then. So that was my confusion here, sorry about that. So we say here, if this equals strict true, in that case we want to hide the item. And then we could do this, else we want to show the item. So if I save this now, save that, refresh, click on it, there you are, and I click again on it, there you are, and if I click again on it, and there you are. Beautiful. So now it starts to show nicely. So we have this now, but I'm not done yet, and the reason why is very simple. The strike through effect is not yet in place. So this works nicely, so we don't have to do here an update. This is very important. If you do an update, it will give you a weird effect here. So no need to do an update. This here basically already shows it. Basically, we're not really updating it. All what we do is cosmetic, and cosmetic means what is visual to the eye, or how it appears if you just look at it. So we do nothing. We're doing nothing at the back or in the behind the scenes, basically in the code. It will just hide it, making it transparent. That's basically it. Just pure CSS, or something like CSS. You can compare to that. So next thing here is the following. How do we create then the so-called strike through effect? So for that, we need to work with the hidden here. This here is very important. So I'm going to do here up, and all I'm going to do here now is I'm going to start working on, well, not there up. I need to be just one down in the generate labels. Why? Because this is the one that generates and updates the chart or the legend based on that. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say let, and then we say visibility. Visibility, and the visibility will be equal this. And the reason why I'm doing let here is because we're going to update this. If we don't update it, we could use constant. So then here, what I'm going to do here, basically what I'm going to do is very simple. Because right now we have this here, but what I really want here is an array. And this array, so we can get, for example, here, array index number, which would be here the index. So we need to extract that one. So that will be based on this here. But of course, to do this, what I need here is basically a array with the value and then loop through it. So what are we going to do here? A for loop. And in this for loop, we're going to say let I equals 0. And then we're going to say I, or loop through this I as long as, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this data sets here, chart.datasets.length. The reason I'm doing this is because this here gets us the two data sets. And then we get the length, meaning that we get the value of number 2. And then we're going to compare this here, and we'll loop through this twice only because it must be always smaller than. So if it's equal, it will not push through. Very important. Then we say here, I++ for a incremental increase. So once we're done here, what I want to do is the following. I'm going to put in here a if statement, and this if statement will be very straightforward. And this if statement will say only one thing. And that is, we're going to get the chart, and then we say, is data set visible, yes or no? So if that is the case, what I want to do here, and this is of course not the index, but this is now of course the I number here, or the iteration or the loop. So if this is set on equals strict false, in that case what I want to do here, I want to say visibility and then dot push. Let's see here, if it's false, we need to push this on true. And the reason why I'm doing this is because one is, remember, it will show at the before it changes it. So if it's false, it means, if I'm not mistaken here, it should be showing, and else it is not. Or am I correct? No, this should be, yes, this is correct. Alright, so the reason why it's correct is because we want to have one part and we want to convert that into the other. Here what we did was true, and then we're going to hide it. So basically, if it's false, we want to say visible, yes, meaning make it visible to the eye. And then else, if it is false, or if it's true, then I want to say here visibility should be set on false. Alright, so once we have this, we can save this now, and we have here this as well. Let's see if this now all works as expected. You can see here, and then we click on that, there you are. And if I click on that, there you are. And if I click back here, click back. If I do this, and if I hover over it, what happened here, you can see here, because of the effect takes a few seconds, or milliseconds, that when I click on this and I hover over it, it will just temporarily still stuck on there, and then it will disappear. However, if I do nothing, and then here, that's it. Beautiful. So this is absolutely beautiful, and this is basically how you can create and hide your data set nicely in Chart.js. So if you like this video and maybe you want to do something like this, but then for the bar chart, or at least the bar chart that converted, I have another video here that specifically focused on how to create a legend for each bar in the bar chart. Basically, this is the bar chart, or this legend is similar to the original structure of a pie chart, where we can click on one and then it will hide the individual bar instead of hiding the entire data set, which is also a quite interesting thing to learn, and very similar to what we've done with the pie chart structuring.